Tonight, we're going to showcase a decal maker on Monster Hobbies. Let's build it! Hello everybody, my name is Trevor Slescu, and as you may or may not know, I am the owner of Monster Hobbies in High River, Alberta, Canada. So here is a question for you guys. Do you have a model kit? This is a Star Trek one. Do you happen to have a model kit that you've built and you don't have a Decals sheet anymore due to certain circumstances, like, you know, maybe it's an old kit, you know, from the 60s or something, and when you went to use the decals, they just exploded because they were dried out old lacquer decals. Or, you know, maybe you got a model kit at a garage sale or off eBay or Kijiji up here in Canada, or one of those guys. Amazon.com, you know, I don't want to name everybody, but they're not paying me. But anyway, so you got a decal, or you got a model with no decals. So where are you going to go? Well, I was in one of the Star Trek groups, and I met a great guy named Jim, who owns Jbot Decals. And you can find the web address to that right here. Also, look down in the descriptions because it's there. But Jim on Jbot Decals is really an excellent guy to deal with, and he makes some really wonderful decals. He has an Alps printer which can print white ink. It's an older machine, but it's good. And I want to tell you now a little story. So when I was young, this is going back into the 1980s, way back. You know, before Generation Y was born. Ha ha! No, some of them were born in the 80s. Okay, but anyway. So, this book actually came out in '73. And this is a Star Trek Starfleet technical manual. Now, my dad was a big, and still is, a big Star Trek fan. He's 86 now. It's still kicking. Anyway, so when I was young, I was really into Star Trek. And of course, all we had back in the 80s was all the way up to Star Trek 3, right? We didn't even have Next Generation. Star Trek, the original series, and, you know, motion picture Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek 3, Search for Spock. And the Franz Joseph Tech Manual and the blueprints, which are now not canon anymore. But at any rate, so when I was a kid, of course, Franz Joseph has all the blueprints in this book for all these different ships. So I always wanted the Dreadnought, because we used to build, of course, the 18-inch Enterprise kits. And the other ships in the tech manual, of course, are like your transport tug, your scout class ship, right? The destroyer, which is the same as the scout, just has more phasers on it. And of course, the heavy cruiser. So when I was young, of course, we used to build the 1/1600 scale kit, which was the original 3-in-1, which had, of course, the Klingon ship, the Romulan, and the Federation heavy cruiser, you know, the Enterprise and all those. But they never had the Dreadnought. So my dad worked for the telephone company, and he also did a lot of woodworking. So he had a wood lathe. So Dad and I, and this was about 1989, because I was in grade 9 and I took metalworking at the high school. So this is how old this is. So my dad and I got together. My dad showed me all the tricks on the wood lathe, and we actually built the Dreadnought out of wood. But we didn't build it in scale with the 1600 ships, which was a dumb decision. We built it directly to scale with the pages in the Franz Joseph Tech Manual. And I should never have closed this book, but okay, I'm not too far off. My dad's poor book has fallen apart. But anyway, okay, so here, wait, I'm going to take these pages out before they crash into the tripod. Okay. All right. So here is the blueprint. And here's the model. Right there. And as you can see, the model fits directly, you're going to have to take my word for this, on the drawing. Okay, there we go. Maybe you can see that. Alright, got to hold it right. Okay. So you see the warp engine in the back. You see it's measured exactly to the warp engine on the drawing. So this is actually, we didn't really have a scale, but through the internet I found out that this is actually 1/2000 scale. So this would be half the size of the Polar Lights current kits, the 1/1000 series. The only problem I got to do a little repair on this ship because, see, Dad built it as 2 pieces with a pin. I need to drill a second pin in toward the back of the neck and another one here so that the neck lines up perfectly, because right now it's doing the swingy stuff. Okay, so back in 83, after we built this, or 89, sorry, after we built this, we had no decals for this thing because nobody made them, right? So we had to use it or do it ourselves. So I used some old letraset and I wrote, you know, Star Union there, which is one of the ships. And then these, the numbers are actually from the 1/1600 scale ship. And here I wrote them on, hand lettered them, which, yeah, they're not very good. But hey, I was a kid. It was the 80s, you know. If you don't know what the 80s are, then, you know, or if you remember the 80s, you weren't really there. That's what the Vietnam vets say. If you remember the 60s, you weren't really there, man. Anyway. But yeah, so this, the dish on the front and back, those are actually punches, center punches out of the metal shop. And then we soldered on the little spikes on the end and everything. And we built this in the wood lathe. Okay, so now flash forward to 2017 toward the end. So I'm on the internet and I come across Jbot's website. And now he also does model car decals. So for all you car guys that are out there, you can get some pretty cool stuff there. So check him out in the description below, his web address. So anyway, I got into a conversation with Jim, and he has never seen this. I never mailed it back to him. We just went right off. I told him, you know, it's straight out of the book. It fits up, sizes perfectly. And my friend Barry figured out what the scale was. So then once Jim got all the information, he actually created this decal sheet. And this has, he's put on the Franz Joseph Tech Manual numbers on here. The, what do you call it? The original series style, which is the American Air Force style. This is microgramma extended, if you guys really want to know. And then he put on this down here, which is a microgramma extended with the border on it, and he curved it so it's sort of like motion picture. And he did the same with all the pendants for the warp engines. He gave me all the little stripes and the little, you know, symbol things that go underneath there. And then the 4 grills for the warp engines. And then, where are they? Oh, these are the ones for the neck. He gave me the little gray things that go underneath the warp engines, even though I don't think the front parts are going to go through, because as good as my dad was, an engineer in the telephone company, you know, we got some not so perfect thingies going on there. But when I redo this ship, I'll dress it with some kind of gray that tries to match the paint color. I'll just paint in between the weaves and cut it off square there, and then I still got the thing. But I don't know how I'm going to put the third one on, because, like, okay, I don't know if you can see that, but there's not really any room in there under that neck, so we'll have to see how it goes. But at any rate, so how good are these? How well did Jim get the scale on this? I'll show you. So what I did, sorry to wander off. What I did is I photocopied the decals in my printer onto a regular piece of paper, which I'll go over in this video because I'm going to actually decal a ship on here. So I photocopied these decals and then I cut them out with a pair of scissors. So there is the Franz Josef Star Union thing. And now, if you look, that fits perfectly on that saucer to the right curve and everything. It's kind of hard to see because it's going to move, right? But, you know, if you put it over here on the side, not that that's where it's supposed to go, but you can see how perfectly Jim got this. So he gave me options to do these different things, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the Franz Josef numberings, because then I can actually say it is exactly out of the book, and then open the book and it will be exact. The other part of it, how good Jim is at this. You notice the warp engines. Here's the pendant Jim did, and it actually lines up right from my little, you know, cooler square or whatever. Sorry, my fingers are in the way. But it actually will line up perfectly to the length of that engine. Now keep in mind, Jim's never seen this model. And what really kicks us off, see if I can find it now, how perfect Jim is on this. Here's the decals for the intercoolers on the inside of the, here I'm going to pull this apart for a minute. These go on the struts here. Look at this. Just so it gets gross sticky, but I don't know if I needed to lick it. Okay, can I do this? It's a little crooked because it's just sitting there, but see that? It's the right length, it's the right width, it's everything. It is perfect. And Jim has never seen this model at all. So how he did that so perfectly, I don't know. But if you deal with Jim, he can get the decals perfect for your model too. And to further this guy here, can I do this? Okay, can you see that? No, yes, no, because I don't want it to fall. There you go. Those fit perfectly on that support up there. So that's how good Jim's got his decals. So now I want to actually put some on a Klingon model. So let's go down to the bench and check that out. So here we are back down on the bench. And before we start, I wanted to show you some of the other decal sheets that Jim has made up. So this is one for the USS Kongo. And that's the top part. This is the bottom part. And as you can see, he's also included on here the second series pilot warp engine holes that go on the back. So you don't have to try to figure out how to paint those or, you know, detail them. They're all just right here on the sheet, which is really nice. And he's got the warp engine underneath the gray. And then he's also got, and I asked Jim to make these special, those are the little venti things that go in front of these red pendants that go on the secondary hull. So when I build this model, it's going to look really, really good. And he includes these little, it's kind of like motion picture. They're little doors right there that go on the side of the saucer for a little extra detail, like a docking port. And then these are, they go into your warp engine, or your impulse engines, the little grills there, which are really nice. And then he's also got these ones, orange, and they've got a little, like a chicken wire type of grid in there. And I'm going to use those ones on mine, as well as the triangles that go under your saucer, and the little grills for your engines, or your supports, I mean, and extra windows. And then these windows here that have the dots around them, they fit the AMT Decals Sheet windows. So if you're looking for that type of ship, you can put them in the right spots. He's also got little tiny NCC 1710s on there. Those can go into little detail spots, you know, places that you can add extras to. And in addition, Jim also sent me out, or I bought off Jim, however you want to put that. These are for the 1600 scale ships, and he's given me a whole bunch of these things, which are good. Dropping them on the floor. Okay, and one last sheet that I've got from Jim out of this package. These are Klingon decal sheets and detail bits for that 1600 scale 3-in-1 set, which this ship is a part of. What I want to do is I want to decal this ship today on film to show you how well the Jbot decals work. And as you can see, of course, Jim has added some extra bits in here, which are really cool. Let's just turn this around. So we have the Klingon tri symbol, whatever. And then these are doors and stuff that go on the back here. Right in between there on our shuttle bay and or impulse drives or whatever you want to think that they are. And he's also included these, those there, which are detailed out little versions of that griddy thing, the grid that goes right into there. Now, of course, you guys know that the actual Klingon filming model didn't have the little grills there, and it didn't have the grills that are in here, and it didn't have the little grab-on handlebar things that are on the neck, you know, whatever. But the 1600 ship does. And in fact, the 1600 ship has a bar that goes right across the top here where the two dots are. Now, I don't know if you can see that. My hand would stop shaking. I'm nervous, I'm making a video. But anyway, it doesn't have that bar either. There. So, you know, to be totally accurate, you have to sand that down the whole thing. But, you know, this ship I know is not in scale, so I'm not worried about it. I also noticed that the neck is twisted. It's going like this, or like this way. I don't quite understand that, but maybe it was just this one model. But yeah, anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys a trick that I'm using. And to do that, we have to go upstairs. So let's dissolve into the upstairs of my house. Whoa! So here we are in our computer room. And I just wanted to show you guys a little trick that I've discovered. So here I've got Jbot's decal sheet with the Klingons and a bunch of stuff for the 1600 scale ships that I'm working with. And now, as you can see, all the windows are here. But what I want to do is I want to make a copy of this decal sheet before we get going. Because what I want to do is I want to cut out and see how well they fit on the actual starship. So I'm going to do this with my black ink, and we'll make a copy. And yeah, I'm doing it in black ink so that, well, I don't waste color, but so I also know that this is that decal sheet, that it's not the real decal sheet, although it's pretty obvious once this gets printing. So we just give it a minute here. These printers always take so long when they're cold, don't they? It's got to run through the gears. It's got to try to tractor a little paper, make sure it's got paper in there. Then it figures out it has paper in, but still got to run the gears and then tractor the paper again, just in case it missed the paper on the first time. Okay, here we go. Alright, scanning across in there. And today we are using the Canon Pixma printer. Alright, anyway. Okay, so here, now you can see we have the black and whites. So I can actually take my little scissors and cut these out and figure out how much I need to remove around the decal before I actually go and cut the real decal. Because if you cut the real decal and you make a mistake, well, that's where the fun stops, right? Okay, let's go back down and put the decals on. And welcome back down to my basement. I sure love video editing because all I needed to do was film that sequence first and then film this sequence as one big string. So I actually haven't not moved from this chair. But anyway, that is the magic of Hollywood. Ha! If this was Hollywood. Anyway, so here's our photocopied sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these scissors here. And I'm going to cut these out. But one thing I noticed that was kind of funny on this, I noticed it earlier today. Jim has given me he's actually given me 3 sets of windows on this, and 3 of the things. He only gave me enough to do 2 with the symbols, which is okay, because I got some extras. But, okay, here's a funny part. Jim's given me 2 sets with the lights on, completely. Every light on here is white, which means it's turned on. This last set, they're all black. So this one ship, every light on it is turned off. So that means that the Klingons sleep at night, every single Klingon crew member. And then in their day, they turn on all the lights. So I thought that was kind of funny, because actually on starships you'd have like a crew that sleeps, half the ship is asleep, and then they switch over, so there's like a night crew, you know, so that if anything happens in space, of course, they would be right there. But the way Jim's got this, probably through no fault of his own, but it is kind of funny to think about it, that all the Klingons would be asleep at night. Every single one. So anyway, so Jim's got on here, he's got boom, port side, boom, starboard side, the bow, the head, which is the cobra head, right? So what I'm going to do is, we're going to cut out the ones that say bow on the ship where all the lights are turned off. Okay, and then we're going to see how this works on the front of the ship. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it out to the black cutout lines that Jim has here. And see, this is why I'm photocopying this first, so that I don't have to, you know, cut the actual decal sheet. So here we go. So there's our bow. And this is where these windows go. Okay. So this is just the paper test. No, let's see. Okay, the camera's having some focus issues, but as you can see, this piece of paper actually fits across there pretty nice. But what you can't really see is that it's still a bit too tall. So, just set that there. So what I'll do is I'll carefully cut the decal sheet just a little tighter to the windows. And it should work out, because I have done this before. So the other part about this is you will know where to cut to remove your decal film. It's going to come up. Boy, tonight my hands are not cutting this too nicely. Yeah, I'm a little bit all over the place. I could use a ruler. Ruler as a guide with a sharp hobby knife would be the best way to do this, but that's why this is the paper copy. So there we go. Now, the way I cut this, it actually is the right height. So, I am so curious to see how this works as a decal, because I've had this model for a while. We're having a winter out here in High River, where the store is, and the snow is getting so thick that, and it's cold, and it's always cold, and you can't paint in the cold. So I was actually able to paint this model with a spray can outside. When it actually warmed up, we had a little window in there where it was like +5, and I painted it then. Brought it right in the house. Okay, now let's focus the camera right on the bench, and we will cut out the decals and try them out. Alright, here we are down on the hobby bench. And there's the decals, and as you can see, Jim also gave me a bunch of Klingon lettering that's different from the regular TCS that you see on the side of the production ship. And I also found one of the guys in the Imperial Klingon Shipyards, Imperial Klingon Shipyards Facebook page, sent me this great big thing. This is a bunch of books and stuff on building a very large Klingon model kit. That's a resin kit, you know. But yeah, this is the actual book that comes with that kit. And he found this online. So I was able to paint the model in the color that they got here. But they give you a bunch of great references on where the decals get placed. So we'll use this as our example for placing these decals that Jim got us, Jbot decals. Okay, so we have the decal sheet. So I'm just going to put one of these on, and it's probably going to be the bow windows. And now, I was talking about using a ruler and a brand new blade, or whatever this is. So let me just find a ruler real quick, and I will cut these out with the ruler. And luckily I found a ruler on hand, so that was good. Because what you guys can't see is that I'm actually trapped right around the camera with the lights and everything in the way. So I'll take this out of the way. And, you know, I should, just to be safe here, I should actually try and cut a bit of this with this blade. Yep, I cut through. Okay, so now I know what I'm up against. All right. Okay. So I think my light is giving a lot of glare, of course. Now this is interesting. I've never done this like this way while trying to film. So, new challenge. Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys can see this. See right here? Those are Klingon symbols. I don't know where Jim had these intended to go, but oh, I think maybe above these. So you can see how tiny that is. Jim's printer can go really small. Okay, this will be one of the ones that actually has the lights on. Actually, you know what I'll do? Let's do it this way. Okay, be careful around there. Okay. Alright, now I'll move that out of the way. Now maybe I can get this big ruler around here. This is difficult. I gotta have my head right over it. Wait. Maybe this is better. Yes, there. Okay. So I need to line this up. I'm semi-blind here. Hope I'm not cutting this all crooked. No, I think I got it. It's pretty good for doing this blind, boys and girls. I suggest when you do this, you actually look at what you're doing. And don't try to film yourself doing it. Okay. How good is that? Just a little. Right there. Okay. Oh, of course. Just move the whole sheet down. Welcome to the Happy Hobbyist. We are putting 18,000 G-force pressure on this ruler. Trying to see around a tripod with my head resting right on that adjustable beam. But you can do whatever, because this is your world. Ooh. Okay, try not to cut into the neighboring decal. Alright. How bad did I score that? Okay, I'm doing good. Alright, so there we go. We got that out there. Then actually, because I did it like that and there's nothing around this, I will just simply snip it right there with the scissors. Whoa, that was close. I just about cut the windows off there. Alright. So there we are, nice and tiny. And then next, you want to put your scissors away. And here I've got my little tray of water. And now what happens when you put a decal in is the decal will curl up, and the idea is when it lies down flat again, it's ready to come off the paper. So there we go. This one is not curling up like some of them do. And you want to, at this point, you get your toilet paper and you rip off a little square. This will absorb your water on your model. And you want your water in there about like a lukewarm. Sometimes I put it in kind of hot. But you know, whatever your hot water tap will give you. Now, a lot of guys like to take tweezers and get all fidgety with this, but you know, hey, I am so old school that I was going to school on a dinosaur. Okay, let's see. So, this decal needs a little longer in the water because it doesn't want to come off the paper. And of course now it's, oh, there we go. Okay, we're getting it off. Yep, now it's ready to slide. Yeah, people would not like this because of course you're getting the greasier fingertips and all this other jazz on there. Now, according to that book that I got, this is the way the windows are supposed to be on here. Wow, look at this. Oops, I'm getting a little too... Okay, so you put a little water here, just so it gets under the decal. And then we want to slide it around and get it into position. I think that's, oops, of course. Okay. Gotta be careful that I'm not bullying this around too much. Alright.
Can't really see too well, but I can see it. So we take our paper towel and we're just gonna move it out this way so that the water get out of there. And there you have it. Trying to see if you can see that there. I don't know, all I can see is glare. The way the lights are in here. But yeah, so you have to trust me that the windows are on there. And they look good. I don't know. Okay, what I'll do is I'll put on the rest of the decals and then come back to this.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that review of the Jbot Decals. And if you would like to check out his website, click down below in the description and it'll come up right for you. And don't forget to check out our website, www.monster-hobbies.ca, where you can check out all our model kits that are available. We can ship around the world, so check it on out. And also, if you would like to subscribe to us and get notified whenever we do a new video, remember to click down there where the bell is, the bell icon, and you will be notified every time we upload a new video. And now, if you would like to see a review of the large Klingon kit, please click up here. If you would like to see the Romulan large kit, Friends of the Klingons, click up there. And if you'd like a review of the Star Trek kit, please click down here and subscribe to us right here. And we will see you on the next build.